Not content with targeting the president, the birther movement now has a new mark in its sights, Supreme Court Justice John Roberts. So what is this all about, Zach? This is ridiculous.
You said it. It's pretty ridiculous. Paul Krugman brought up a couple of weeks ago, he was talking about people responding to austerity and deficit reduction proposals, but he was talking about cults and saying that there's some social science research from the 60s that people involved in end of the world cults, when the world doesn't actually end at the prescribed sort of due date, they don't just stop proselytizing. They actually become more fervent in their belief about this thing that has been empirically proven to be false. And so I think we're kind of seeing that with the birther movement. It's interesting. There was a certain point in time when about 40% of Republicans were identifying as not as birthers as individuals, but saying they did not believe that Barack Obama was born in the United States. And I think what you've seen over time is that that's sort of like an identity statement, that people don't really believe that, but they're trying to find the strongest and most frequent number of times they can object to President Obama within a given poll. And it's become socially more and more unacceptable to be associated with those types of ideas. But the people who actually believed them at that point in time are really clinging to this really fervently and obviously talking about impeaching one of the most conservative Supreme Court justices in history. Kind of remarkable.
Why are they singling out Roberts here?
I mean, I think to some extent you've seen.
Well, he's the one that swears him in at the end of the day. I mean, I think isn't that the issue, Zach?
Well, I mean, that's the technical issue, but there is more broadly within the really, really hardcore conservative base. There's been a lot of discomfort with Roberts since he upheld most of the Obamacare law with the Supreme Court's decision. So he's been an unpopular figure. You would think, that just because he's the guy who swears in President Obama doesn't mean that he's going to be targeted by a birther campaign. I think that only happens when you already have some unrest within the conservative base with Roberts, conservative bona fides, which is, kind of amazing. If you actually look at that healthcare decision, what he managed to get through on the Commerce Clause in particular is one of the most conservative decisions we've seen in decades that could sharply limit the scope of the federal government over the next couple of decades. But that is not good enough for people who believe Barack Obama was born in Indonesia or Kenya.
And people want to...
You can't apply logic to the, there has to be another reason why they would go after Roberts when it comes to the birthers.
And people want to talk about it, unfortunately, for everybody. But so, we're glad to shoot it down, I think, is fair to say.